Getting ready to step into your career era? Set yourself apart with Adobe Creative Cloud Pro for students. Hone your skills with apps like Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, and more, powered with the latest in creative AI. Students save over 55% so you can build a portfolio you're proud of. Launch your future with Adobe Creative Cloud Pro for students. Visit adobe.com/students to learn more.
The Lincoln Wishlist sales event is happening now. Here's what's on everyone's wish list. Enjoying holiday jingles with brilliant 3D audio that surrounds you? Check. Watching snow flurries through the panoramic vista roof? Check. Packing up presents with the spacious Lincoln Splitgate? Check. Everything you want. All standard on the 2025 Lincoln Navigator SUV. Visit your local Lincoln retailer or learn more at Lincoln.com for exceptional offers on 2025 Lincoln vehicles today.
Hey friends, this is Audie Cornish, host of CNN This Morning and The Assignment, and guess what? Every story you care about, every angle you want unpacked is now streaming on CNN. That means you can catch my show or other CNN programming whenever you want on your favorite device. And a subscription also gets you access to exclusive video series and unlimited articles. So subscribe to CNN at cnn.com/subscription.
BTW, FYI. Visit Nexplanon.com RN to learn about Nexplanon. It's an gestural implant, 68 milligrams radiopaque. Or ask your HCP IRL. Okay, TTYL.
Hello and welcome to Saturday Morning Spread, November 8th, 2025, with your host, as always, Mark Henry Jr. And you can follow me on Twitter at Mark Henry Jr. NFL. If you hear that in the background, that is my Cavapoo. That is my dog going nuts for the last hour as I was preparing this show, being absolutely silent. So there you go. That's what dogs do as soon as you log on. But anyway, we're gonna fight through it. I got a little bit of a sore throat. We're doing a quick show today, just doing picks, just going down my picks on the college football and NFL board. I'll also give you a feel on the games that I didn't bet, on why they're not on the card, or where I would lean on those games, all of the NFL games, and then I guess about the 15 best college games. So no NBA today. Not going to talk much college basketball. I will say Alabama plus 6.5 at St. John's at noon. Taking that. That's my first play of the day. No college football action at noon. So that's actually what I'll be focused on coming up in the noon window. But let's get it started. Let's talk some college football. Let's break it down. I've got 7 college football plays on the board today, 8 total with that Alabama basketball play. So let's get it started. My first play at 3:30. At 3:30, I'm going with TCU -7 against Iowa State. That's only a 1-unit play. The Cyclones don't get pressure up front. Their secondary has been a disaster, really injured. It's just a bad situation for Iowa State, especially on defense, where that's kind of their identity under Matt Campbell. Something's definitely off for the Cyclones, who find themselves in the middle of a 4-game losing streak, including a loss to a Colorado team that has since, in the 2 games after, given up over 100 points in the last 2 outings. TCU has let me down plenty times this year. They were a team that I thought could compete to potentially even make the Big 12 title game, win the Big 12, go to the playoff. They've been disappointing, but they will score. But make no mistake, this bet's not about TCU. This is not a bet on TCU as much as it is a fade on Iowa State, who I think is going the opposite direction. Another Big 12 matchup, we're going to Arizona. We're taking Arizona laying the points, another home Big 12 game here. Arizona -4.5 against Kansas for 1 unit. Kansas has failed to cover their last 3 games and 4 of their last 5. Arizona's last 4 games, in my opinion, have been really impressive. A blowout win against Oklahoma State, close 1-possession, or 2 close 1-possession losses, top Big 12 teams in BYU and Houston. And then a blowout win against Colorado in dominating fashion. Now, I just told you, I don't think Colorado is very good, but it was dominating fashion from the Arizona Wildcats. So Arizona -4.5 for 1 unit in that. 4 o'clock, money in the dumpster game of the week. Give me Coastal Carolina -7 against Georgia State for 1 unit over on the plus on ESPN Plus. Sorry to the YouTube listeners out there. Coastal has covered 4 of the last 5 games, all as a dog, winning 3 outright out of those 4 covers. And you look at the other side, Georgia State, 1-7 against the spread, and has not covered any of their last 7 games. They haven't covered a game since August. We were by the pool last time Georgia State covered a game. And Coastal's new quarterback has been running the ball like 20 times per game. It's a risk-averse offense, quarterback run, running back run. They're using 3 running backs out of the backfield, but the quarterback's getting more carries than anybody. They seem to have found their footing as of late with this kind of new play style. Turn the page from the early season struggles going against a team in Georgia State that hasn't turned the page at all. They've failed Vegas expectations and just win-loss expectations all year long. So give me the Chanticleers -7 against Georgia State at 4:00. Getting to my 4 favorite plays of the day, all coming at the night slate. My 4th favorite play of the day, Florida State +2.5 at Clemson for 2 units over on the ACC network. Who would have thought Florida State Clemson on the ACC network? This is the all disappointment bowl, but one of these teams really impressed me last week. Wake Forest has been really solid all year long, and I bet them. I thought, why not? They'll show up and beat a Florida State team that was clearly trending the wrong direction, but I was wrong. After all the drama and a shaky, temporary vote of confidence in Mike Norvell, Florida State shows up to Wake Forest and beats them 42-7. I was shocked by that result. Now, a result I was not shocked by was Clemson going and giving up 46 to Duke and losing 46-45. And it's a Clemson defense that's given up 81 over the last 2 weeks to SMU and Duke. Not that those are shrugs or anyway, but there was a clip of Clemson's defensive. This is actually most what this anti-Clemson fate is about here, even less about what I've seen on the field. There was a couple clips last week of Dabo going over to the sideline and yelling and trying to fire up the defense, and you could see the guys, NFL prospects, just flat out rolling their eyes at Dabo. They were not listening. They're not buying what this guy's selling anymore. So I think at the very least, you could say Florida State hasn't quit. After last week, after what they did against Wake Forest, that was a team that was fighting for their coach. So the defense for Clemson has quit. I don't think Florida State has quit. Give me the Noles +2.5 at Clemson for 2 units. My best bet of the day, and this is I've got a gross list of best bets on the day. I'll be honest. Give me Florida -3 at Kentucky. Are we sure Florida is that bad? Even before the Billy Napier firing, they beat a Texas team that has looked much better since. Their A&M loss has aged really well. They beat a Mississippi State team that has looked much better since. And then last week, under their interim coach, Billy Gonzalez, they almost beat Georgia. And may have, if not for a bad ref call. I think it helps for this game's purpose that they didn't win that game. They're still hungry, still fighting for the interim coach. On the flip side, Kentucky's coming off their first SEC win of the year. I think there's a little bit of a trend if you look at Kentucky this year. They've showed up for a couple big spots. Kentucky, they showed up competitive against Ole Miss. After that game, got blown out by a bad South Carolina team and blown out by Georgia. Then they almost beat Texas. They get their doors blown off by 4 touchdowns by Tennessee at home. They give up 56 points. This Kentucky defense is supposed to be competitive, gives up 56 points to Tennessee at home. So they show up and get a 10-3 win last week against Auburn. That was a dead team walking on offense especially. I think they show up and get smushed by a Florida team that I don't particularly like or believe in, but I think it's better than the South Carolina team that absolutely punked Kentucky out. I absolutely do. And, just not to play the comparison game, Florida beat the heck out of Texas. Texas showed up and barely beat Tennessee, but they did win the game. So, college football math is not linear, but I think Florida shows up and this is like a 24-10, 21-7 low scoring game, but Florida handles it and is never really in doubt. That's my opinion. My second favorite play of the game day, also on an SEC interim coach. Gross games for me today. But give me LSU +11 at Alabama for 3 units. Do you think Brian Kelly was well-liked in that locker room at LSU? I'm guessing not. This feels like the most obvious dead coach bounce fight for the interim coach game of all time. In the first game following an in-season coaching change, Teams have gone 7-1 against the spread this season in the FBS. And beyond that, looking at the matchup makes it make some sense. LSU's O-line's the problem. They're not good. But Alabama's front doesn't get much pressure, so it may not exploit the problem. For instance, South Carolina has one of the worst offensive lines in the Power Four, gives up some of the most pressure allowed in the Power Four, the most pressure allowed in the SEC. They were able to hang with Alabama until the final buzzer. A South Carolina team that LSU handled handily. I like LSU to keep this close until the final gun, and I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled this off at home. I would not be. If they pulled off the upset that nobody sees coming, I don't think it would be the most shocking thing ever. But I think Bama probably gets the job done, but LSU keeps it close. LSU plus 11 for 3 units. And then my last play of the day, Notre Dame, but I'm not betting Notre Dame too big of a spread. It's like 28.5 or whatever it is. Give me the over at 54.5 in Navy Notre Dame for 2 units. Navy 6-2 to the over. Notre Dame averages 38 points per game. Navy averages 32 points per game. Notre Dame's defense has been better lately, but this could be a tricky matchup for them against the run. I expect Notre Dame to score 45 minimum. You could also take that team total over at 41.5. I'm going to take the 54.5. Some garbage time I think allows for maybe Navy fighting from behind a little bit, but this is a Navy team that's given up 31 to North Texas, 32 to FAU, 32 to Temple, 31 to Air Force. Like, I would be absolutely stunned if Notre Dame doesn't score at least 40. And then at that point, you just need 15, 16, 17 from Navy. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 40 to 17, 40 to 20, 45, 24 type game here. So give me the over 54.5 in Navy Notre Dame. Notre Dame has had 4 straight unders cash, but they had 4 straight overs cash in the first 4 weeks. I think we flipped back to that trend. Now, let's go to talk about some of the leans on the card that they didn't make it to the card, but this is where I would bet if I was talking about each of these games, and I've got 15 of them to go through. At 12 o'clock, the biggest game of the day where College Game Day is, BYU at Texas Tech. I would lean Texas Tech minus 11.5. It's just too many points for me to handle, but I think Vegas is telling you what they think in BYU. It would not surprise me if BYU loses today, shows up next week and loses to TCU at home, and then see you BYU. Georgia at Mississippi State, where Brandon Walker and the gang are for Barstool today. Give me the over if I was taking a bet in that one at 56.5. Indiana at Penn State. If I was taking a bet in that one, I would lean Penn State in that one. Weirdly, if you look through Penn State's schedule, they hung with Ohio State until the second half, and then the 4 losses previous to that are all pretty close games. So I don't think it's crazy to think Penn State could hang tough. And then we've got SMU at Boston College. A gross game, but give me Boston College plus 10.5. If I was betting on that one, SMU having to travel across the country. Boston College showed they were still fighting against Notre Dame last week, so I would lean with BC. Colorado at West Virginia. West Virginia minus 6.5 would be where I'd lean. I think West Virginia stinks, but Colorado might be the worst team in the Power Four at this moment. The way that they're playing the last couple weeks has been shameful. 40-point deficits by halftime. Dion needs to resign. It's over for Coach Prime. Once you don't have Travis Hunter, a generational player, and then people don't want to hear this, but a really, really, really good college football quarterback in Shedeur, you don't got anything with Coach Prime. So I think it's time for Coach Prime to hit the bricks there. 1 o'clock, Ohio State minus 29.5 at Purdue. I would lean that way, but I'm not betting a team to win by 30 against another Power 4 team. Barry Odom at least has the boys fighting. 2:30, Maryland at Rutgers. I would lean towards the the under at 57.5. That's a high number. That almost made this one and the next one are the 2 plays that almost made it to the card, but they didn't quite make it. Rutgers under 57.5. Maryland Rutgers under 57.5 almost made it. Maryland's like 3-6 to the under so far this year. So Maryland's been an under team. Would not surprise me if Maryland continues that trend. Rutgers has been a slight lean to the over, but recently they've actually been more of an under team, but overall an over team. At 3:30, I think I'm leaning Oregon minus 6 at Iowa. I'm starting to think that everybody's on Iowa. Everybody is kind of saying, is Oregon going to beat Iowa and USC and Washington? They only need to win 2 of them. If they can beat 2 of Iowa, USC, and Washington, now it doesn't matter if they cover, but part of me starting to think we've built this Iowa game up a little bit too much, and Oregon might show up and squash them. I think that there's a chance that happens. And same thing with Texas A&M at Missouri. This would have been a different game if Bo Prabula was healthy. Missouri's backup quarterback. We got a freshman going. I think A&M probably should handle this game, but 7 just a bit too rich for my liking. Duke at UConn. UConn, I actually lean to as an 8-point dog. This game just doesn't mean anything to Duke. Like, they have all their season ahead of them for the ACC, and they lose this game, it doesn't change anything. Whereas UConn, this is like their season now. Like, this is the biggest game remaining for them. So just a motivation factor. This line has dropped. It was like 11.5, down to 8. So I'm not going to bet that one. Maybe if it was still at 11.5, I would have considered it. 4 o'clock. This is another one that actually almost made the card, but Auburn Vandy under 45.5. Just a little too low. If this number was like 49.5, I'd be on it. No doubt about it in terms of the under. But Auburn has not allowed more than 24 points all year long. 30. Washington at Wisconsin. I would lean towards Washington minus 10.5. Wisconsin's a joke. Stanford at UNC. I would lean towards UNC minus 7.5. Belichick has been playing a little bit better ball. A little bit better. At 7 o'clock, Cal plus 18.5 at Louisville. I would take Cal plus 18.5, but Cal has screwed me in historic fashion back-to-back weeks. I can't do it. I can't allow Cal to do it to me again. I have to take a week off. I think they're definitely going to cover that number. I'll be honest with you, 18.5. Way too big of a point spread for a Louisville team that struggled with Virginia Tech last week, they struggled with someone else recently. I'll pull it up. This is bad radio, but even though we're not on terrestrial radio, they struggled with Boston College a little here, struggled with Virginia Tech. I don't think 18.5 is Cal's better than both those teams. So I think it's way too many points, but not touching it, not letting Cal screw me again. Wake Forest at Virginia, kind of similar. I would lean Wake Forest here, but I bet Wake Forest last week and they showed up and lost 42-7. I'm kind of just hoping that they haven't just packed it in for the season, so I'm not going to touch it. So give me Wake Forest plus 6.5 if I was going to make a play on those. Now let's switch over to the NFL, the National Football League. I believe I've got 9 plays on the board, 8 plays and a teaser. 6 plays on Sunday, 2 on Monday, and a teaser. Let's get to it. 1 o'clock. My favorite side or total of the week. Everybody knows Jalen Hurts, yada, 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 best bet of the week always. But my favorite total or side of the week in the NFL, honestly, I'll say it, across all of college or NFL, is the over at 47.5 in Patriots Buccaneers. The last 3 overs have hit for Drake May's Patriots. But the reason I love this so much is I think it's going to be a close game. Baker's played so many close games this year. The Patriots haven't played many, which I think will drive it even more to the over than they've had so far this year. I think they're 6-3 to the over, but they're 14-7 to the over in Drake May's career so far. And I think it's not hard to see this being a 31 last ball. The last team that has a chance to go kick a field goal wins the game. It would not surprise me whatsoever. Give me the over at 47.5 in Patriots Buccaneers. Maybe we even get some overtime in that one. Give me the Jags money line at the Houston Texans 4-1 unit. The Texans' red zone offense has been abysmal this season, and 22 total trips inside the red zone this season for Houston. They have 8 touchdowns, and now you've got Davis Mills at the helm, so that's going to be even worse. That's an O-line problem. Stroud at least was able to move a little bit from the O-line. Davis Mills and his neck will not be able to. This means nothing, but the Jags have covered 4 straight against Houston and have covered the last 3 years in Houston. Make it 4 years as I take something away from my dog. And we're back. Let's go. Moving on to the rest of the slate in the NFL. My second bet on the 1 o'clock slate is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Oh, wait, I gave that already. Gave those 2. Moving on to the 4 o'clock slate. At 4:05, the Seattle Seahawks minus 6.5 versus the Arizona Cardinals for 1 unit. Small hunch here. I just think a lot of buzz about the Jacoby Brissett move. People love how Arizona looked on Monday night. It's still a short week. Seattle's one of the best teams in football, one of the hardest places to play in football. Give me Seattle minus 6.5. My dad, I know, disagrees. He sent me a message on that, but this means nothing. But the Seahawks have dominated the Cardinals over the last few years, going 8-0 straight up and 7-1 against the spread since the calendar turned to 2022. I don't like these stats, but I think they're fun to give out sometimes. At 425, give me the Rams minus 4.5 at the 49ers. Don't have any fancy stats on this one. I think the Rams are the best team in football that are not residing in Philadelphia. So I think the Rams are damn good, and I think that they prove it. They lost to San Fran earlier this year, and I know you think, oh, tough game. They're going back to San Fran to a team they already lost to. I think they flipped the script and they beat up on San Fran, who doesn't have a lot of the guys that they had still when they were playing. They still had Fred Warner at that point. I think they still had Bosa at that point. I know the 49ers have picked it up and still hung in there. I think the 49ers still make the playoffs, but I think they'll do it off of the strength of a easy schedule. This is not a part of that easy schedule. I think they lose the games they're supposed to lose, win the games they're supposed to win, and I think the Rams take care of business here. Another team I think is going to take care of business is the Detroit Lions, minus 7.5 at the Washington Commanders. Jared Goff and Dan Campbell are 16-12-1 straight up and 21-8 against the spread off of a straight-up loss as a duo. They've won and covered 12 in a row dating back to November of 2022. So the 12-game straight-up and against spread winning streak off of an outright loss is the longest for any team in the last 30 years. I do think Dan Campbell probably does a good job getting the boys rallied and back up after a loss. So I'll give him credit there, even if I think he gets way too much credit all the time. Teams, by the way, Lions are 5-3. You wouldn't hear that about that anywhere else. People just going to, crown them as a Super Bowl contender no matter what they do in the regular season. When they lose, it's injuries' fault, but the injuries don't affect where we put them in power rankings. So we should rank the 5-3 Lions above, the Super Bowl champion Eagles, who are 6-2 with a better record than the Lions, have played a tougher schedule than the Lions, and also are coming off of winning 2 of the last 3 NFCs. But, the Eagles are the team with something to prove, while the Lions, they're the media darling, and we love the Lions. Doesn't matter that they lost as an 8.5-point home favorite to the Minnesota Vikings last week. Nobody cares. But when the Eagles lost with everybody hurt against the Giants, or when the Eagles lost by a field goal to Denver with terrible officiating, it was time to call a national emergency about the Eagles and Jalen Hurts and yada, yada, yada. I hate the Lions so much, but I think they beat down a backup quarterback here in Marcus Mariota. Lions minus 7.5 for 1 unit. Sunday Night Football, give me the Pittsburgh Steelers plus 3 at the LA Chargers. Here we go. Pittsburgh's going to the 7 seed. Here we go. Sorry, I had to do it. But it does feel like this is a huge game for playoff positioning. I think it's going to be a little bit of a home feel for Pittsburgh. I think it's going to be a lot of Steelers fans there in SoFi making trips out, or transplants who now live in California going to the game. Steelers have a very national fan base, so would not surprise me at all to see a very, very split crowd, to be generous. But the Steelers, that's not the reason I like it. I think we've seen what's happened when Joe Walsh went out, and Steelers have a D-line that can take advantage of it. The defense has started to play better as of late, created a lot of turnovers last week against Indianapolis. I understand that there's a letdown factor for Pittsburgh this week, but I think the Joe Alt factor, we've seen what they've been without him, and that O-line. I know they traded for Trevor Penning. I don't think that's fixing much. So give me the Steelers plus 3 in that game. I think they win the game outright. Monday Night Football. Everybody knows Jalen Hurts touchdown, but plus money, folks. Plus 130. That's a 6-unit banger for me. Love Jalen. And then my third favorite play of the NFL slate after Jalen, after the over in Patriots-Bucks, would be the Philadelphia Eagles on the money line at the Green Bay Packers. If you give me the Eagles as an underdog, I'm going to take them all day long. I have to update the Jalen and AJ stat, but they're like, let's do it live on air, folks. Let's do it live on air. We're going short today anyway, so we can kill a little bit of time here. AJ's missed 2 games, and they're 1-1 in them, so that would make them 5-1 this year with Jalen and AJ. 7-8. So the Eagles are 47-8 over the last 4 years when Jalen and AJ both start and finish a game, including the playoffs. You give me the Eagles at plus money or minus 2.5 or below against any team in football. I don't care. Road, home, neutral field. I don't care. I'm taking the Philadelphia Eagles. They're the best team in football still, in my humble opinion. So give me the Eagles. And everybody knows how much I respect Green Bay. I still believe in the Packers. I think they're the 4th best team in the NFC instead of the 1st or 2nd now, because I think that Tucker Kraft injury is a massive, massive, massive loss for the Green Bay Packers. I don't think that can be understated. Also, something that has not been talked about enough, Nolan Smith back for the Eagles. So not just adding, Jalen Phillips and the corners that they traded for, and Brandon Graham hopefully making an impact if he can play some snaps. Not just adding those guys, but now you're adding Nolan Smith back, who I think people forgot is one of the building blocks of this Eagles defense. Huge, huge, huge for the Eagles. At 9:30, Falcons at Colts. Let me look at something here because I'm just curious. I saw that there's a FanDuel boost on anytime touchdowns in this game. Drake London at plus 145 coming off of a game that he's gotten 3 touchdowns is interesting. That might end up on my card. I might end up taking Drake London touchdown. So stay tuned for my card tomorrow. There's a chance that ends up if I'm watching the 9:30 game. 1 o'clock, give me if we're talking Bills-Dolphins, Bills are a 9.5-point favorite. The total's 50. I'll take the Bills minus 9.5. I don't have a strong feel on that game. Giants at Bears. Bears are a 4.5-point favorite. Total is 47. But we have seen time and time again that the Bears play close games. Give me the over if I would lean anyway in that game. At 1 o'clock, 1 second, and we're back. 1 o'clock, Saints at Panthers. Panthers 5.5-point favorite. The total's 38.5. I would go under if I would lean any play in this game. Browns at Jets. I would actually lean Jets plus 2 here against the Browns. I think Dylan Gabriel's cooked. And the Jets seem to at least found somewhat of a rhythm last week on offense. So if I would lean anyway in this matchup, it would be towards the New York Jets, which is funny to say. And the last one, Ravens at Vikings. Ravens 4-point favorite, total 48.5. If I were to lean anyway in this one, it would probably be to Baltimore in the purple matchup. But I got to tell you, I don't have much of a opinion. So let's just run it down. I'll run it down one more time. Overall, my 8 bets today. Bama plus 6.5 at St. John's on the hardwood at college basketball at noon for 1 unit. TCU minus 7 versus Iowa State for 1 unit at 3:30. You've got Arizona minus 4.5 against Kansas for 1 unit at 3:30. Coastal Carolina minus 7 for 1 unit against Georgia State. Florida State plus 2.5 at Clemson for 2 units at 7 o'clock. At 7:30, my 3 best bets of the day. Florida minus 3 at Kentucky for 4 units. LSU plus 11 at Bama for 3 units. Over 54.5 in Navy, Notre Dame. And then tomorrow on the NFL card, we've got over 47.5 in Patriots Bucks for 4 units. Jags money line at the Texans for 1 unit. Seahawks minus 6.5 against the Cardinals for 1 unit. Rams minus 4.5 at the 49ers for 2 units. Lions minus 7.5 at the Commanders for 1 unit. Steelers plus 3 at the Chargers for 1 unit. Eagles money line at the Packers for 3 units. And then Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown plus 135. I got it. It's plus 130 now. You can still grab that at 6 units. And one last thing, I forgot to give this out. I am going with a 4 o'clock teaser. Already have the Seahawks and Lions on my card for 1 unit, but also adding a 1 unit teaser. Seahawks 6.5-point teaser down to a money line. 6.5-point teaser for the Lions down to 1. If that's 2 for you, I whatever it is, if you can get them both under a field goal, I like that a lot. Maybe a money line parlay, whatever it is you want to do. I don't see the Seahawks or Lions losing in that 4 o'clock window. So there are my plays for the college football and NFL board. Thanks for listening. You can follow me on Twitter at Mark Henry Jr. NFL. Check out everything Eagles Pinpool's got going on at Shane Half NFL and at Eagles Pinpool. Check out everything at the YouTube on Eagles Pinpool. Eagles Pinpool Country. Saturday morning spread country. Let's rock.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana.
We all love a legendary comeback, and Degree Original Cool Rush is back and better than ever. Cool Rush isn't just a scent, it's a movement, a fan favorite that delivers bold, fresh vibes and all-day sweat protection. Whether you're heading to the gym, the office, or just trying to stay fresh on a long day, Cool Rush has your back. So if you haven't tried it yet, head to your local Walmart or Target and grab Degree Cool Rush, the fan favorite scent from the world's #1 antiperspirant brand.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kan du norsk?
If you used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world, with lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers. Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/Spotify. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify. Rules and restrictions may apply.
BTW FYI. Visit Nexplanon.com RN to learn about Nexplanon. It's an adjustable implant, 68 milligrams radio paid. Or ask your HCP IRL. Okay, TTYL.